We're live. It says we're live. That's a great start. I'm going to try and stand here. We'll be able to see some of it in Jordan's mirror that I've pinched. Great. Well, how do I find my link? I'm just going to do some boring setup stuff. No, that's not going to work. How do I find my link?
What's your YouTube name?
I think it's just Rob Laurie, but I should have figured this out before, but he gives a rat's. Paid promotion, no. All right. That might be enough. This is great TV, but also no one is watching yet.
Hey, I'm watching. Crazy. It's just you typing.
Yeah. Retweet. So do you have a link that you can use?
Yeah, I just tweeted one out there.
Oh, really? Can you send me that? Can you send me that? Oh, no, I'll pinch it from there. Sing Vision. I was trying to sing Christmas Carol. I'm already talking for no reason. All right, this is bad. There it is. Oh, no, it's going to break the internet in that it's just going to fold in on itself. If it's me recording me watching the thing, that's going to hurt. All right. There we go. We're live, baby. And we'll get on the gram. Website, there we go. You can see me get on Instagram. Hey mates, we're ready to go, aren't we? We've got Under Siege 2 live commentary for some reason. I was counting on having a captive audience, and people are now allowed to go outside, but we're still going to do it. Link in bio. Watching it's about an hour and 50 minutes, and we're going to learn everything there is to know about the 1995 Jeff Murphy directed Steven Seagal masterpiece released in cinemas, Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. Boom. Go, aren't we? We've got Under Siege 2 live commentary for some reason. I was counting on having a captive audience. Link in bio. Feels good to use that sticker on my story. And let's do a facey B.
Well, record live on Facebook.
Yeah.
All bases covered.
All right, so will I have a number saying Jordan Curtis is watching? Hey gamers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. That is so true. Let's give it like another 2 minutes. Not because I think yeah, because you can stream it on your Amazon if the coward streaming service. You can download it or borrow it on YouTube. Which has been a big year for me doing that. It's like $3, sure. I'll watch Crank 2 High Voltage.
And we did.
We did. It is what it is. It's sweltering hot in here. But I don't want to crack a window because I don't want to blast the neighborhood with Under Siege 2. So this is, let's just start with a bit of context. This is I think I've seen this film more times than any other film in the past 10 years. Maybe Francis Ha tied for that as far as, most viewed of the decade.
As far as art goes, they're on the same level, really.
Yes, I'm glad I had both. I'm really glad I had both, because some people, they make a big distinction, high art, low art. And I think if you can enjoy something sincerely, doesn't matter if it's good or bad, before, and having that experience and loving Under Siege 2 Dark Territory before I got into something that is, a film Twitter favorite.
God, I just realised I've been spelling siege the wrong way this whole time.
How have you been spelling it?
I did it EI instead of IE. Oh, if we don't get any viewers, it's my fault.
That's so true.
I fucked it.
That's so true. Well, I don't think we're going to find out any information on ratings. Yeah, that graphic isn't going to do any wonders. I am assuming nobody is tuning in. Rowan Neagle expressed an interest, but I don't think I did a good job of publicising that. But it's 10:05. What do you say we get into Under Siege 2 Dark Territory? Jordan's going to be our fact checker.
Oh, that's why I got IMDb open. Oh.
Yes. All right, let's. So Warner Brothers production, wonderful stuff. I'm actually concerned. Can you not hear anything?
Hang up the 50.
Yeah, it should be. Oh, there we go.
It's a silent credit card. Yeah.
Now, there's a lot we can talk about this film. I think I'll start by running through the department heads. It is a Jeff Murphy film. But I think let's just start. Let's start with this Basil Polduris score. Rousing stuff. Polduris is a great composer. He's a great film composer. I think he gets overlooked because he scored so much garbage. Like Under Siege 2, like Seagal's previous film, one he directed On Deadly Ground.
Just for my first fact check, don't be confused by this opening.
No.
They're not going to siege the shuttle station.
That's a good point. Yes, it is. It is a film taking place on a train. Why are we opening with a rocket launch? We'll find out shortly. It's to do with Grazer 1, a experimental satellite. But Polduris, he's got great scores in him from RoboCop, Conan the Barbarian, Hunt for Red October. For every one of those, though, there was a couple of Free Willies and a couple of On Deadly Grounds. But it's very melodic. It's a far cry. Obviously, film scores have, they've changed in style. They're now very Hans Zimmer, John Powell kind of influence. I mean, John Powell was protege for Hans Zimmer, but this is when we're not afraid of melody. Polduris loves his brass. He loves a big sound. And you don't expect this kind of interspace ballet and the majesty that we're getting right here with this Grazer 1.
Look, I'd say you wouldn't be blamed if you just walked into the room and saw this on TV. I wouldn't blame you if you thought this was maybe a Superman movie, going by the sound of the score.
Yes. And a good friend of everything I do. My good friend of mine, Liam Phillips, did sort of compare him to John Williams a bit. John Williams and I think Holst, responsible for The Planets.
Hey,
and we've got Kurtwood Smith already. There's some great casting in here. Again, another RoboCop alum.
I was going to say the guy from that 70s show.
We know him from that 70s show. When I first watched this film, I would have recognized him from, we'd just been studying Dead Poets Society in English. And of course, he's the father who doesn't respect his son's love of the theatre. So we've got Kurtwood Smith. He's not in the original. Of some of these naval characters and these naval because Seagal's SEAL. do reprise their roles later on in the film. But so far, things are going pretty well. We're just in a routine satellite test at Grazer 1. Coming up, a very good example of the old screenwriting adage of show, don't tell. What we're trying to communicate here is that Grazer 1 is a big deal. This is a powerful, high-tech satellite, really cutting-edge stuff. So how do you convey that to the average Joe who doesn't know anything about this film, who's just walking in, and what we're seeing here, pre-Google Maps, checking out a sexy lady. I'm a man in 1995, and this is like, I get this. This is some serious tech that Travis Dane, who we don't know about yet, but he's responsible, that he's developed. And that might be too rude for YouTube, but...
A little known fact is that Paul Rubens, who was caught masturbating in an adult theatre, was actually going to see Under Siege 2. He didn't expect boobs to pop up on screen.
He couldn't help himself. So that's our first mention of Dane, Travis Dane, who invented this satellite and then was fired, and then he died in mysterious circumstances. Now, Travis Dane, our villain for the film, is played by an actor who I think will surprise you. He is by no means a household name or like a recognizable face, unless you've been paying attention to big films in the past year or so, like the really exciting stuff. If you've been sort of on top of it, you'll be thinking, wow, him. So I'm really looking forward to you see him. Apparently he's been in Scrubs, Jordan tells me, but that won't narrow it.
In one episode, he's Dr. Cox's therapist.
Don't say that, because they'll, this is going to be a surprise. Because everyone's going to be like, oh, him? What hip casting? So just to catch up on the plot, because I think probably if if anyone is watching along with me, seeing it for the first time, but yeah, there's something going on between her and one of the younger scientists.
And hello to Jacob, who should be doing his work right now.
Oh, that's great. Hey, Jacob. Oh, yes. I've seen you around the place. I've seen you around town because it's Adelaide. And I've always felt a bit like, I know him off Twitter, but I've never done that. So now we're in change of scene. I don't know what city this is, but city buffs will obviously be familiar. It's important to notice that, for those who don't know, Seagal's character, Casey Ryback, is a chef. In the first film, he's a former Navy SEAL. He's been disgraced. There he is. And he's allowed to serve out the rest of his tenure as the cook on the ship, which is why he's on the boat when all the stuff goes down. So now we see Casey Ryback a few years later. He's running a successful restaurant in whatever city. And...
Okay, so just my first little bit of fact and trivia. So you asked what town it's in. It's in Colorado. I don't know if that's a town or a state.
I think it would have been filmed in Colorado because it's very rocky landscape. I don't think it's set.
Oh, it's just because the number plate had Colorado on it as well. So.
Oh, that's a good point. So we're learning about Casey Ryback's brother who is deceased, and he's got to go across country on a train with his niece, the brother's daughter, to get to the funeral. And they've got they got to repair their relationship a little bit.
Maybe we should probably do a trip to Colorado sometime.
Visit some locations.
No, because the railroad cars in this film were made specifically for the film by a Colorado Railcar Company, which, while now defunct, the rail cars are still in use.
That's interesting.
So we can go ride the actual
So we're about to meet Casey's niece, who's played by Katherine Heigl. I probably should have watched 27 Dresses beforehand just to get a bit more of an overview of her career. I haven't even seen Knocked Up. But this is an early role for her. I wonder if... I know Portia de Rossi auditioned and Seagal's a fucking creep. But I don't know if it was for this role.
Thank you for the nice words, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob. So we got Casey Ryback. So just to recap, I have seen Under Siege once, 8 years ago, pretty much exactly. It was on Schoolies, Jordan.
Oh,
but
I didn't even go to school.
I've seen this film a dozen odd times. In the first one, we've got he fights terrorists on a Navy boat. Tommy Lee Jones, Gary Busey, who dresses up as a lady at one point. And it was Seagal's biggest hit. It was his biggest critical hit as well. And it was sort of a key point in the change of Seagal's career. He'd maybe made 5 or 6 films at that point. In those early ones, it was very street level. In Hard to Kill, Out for Justice, Above the Law, he's a cop or some sort of similar tough guy figure, and he's very specifically out for revenge on somebody. But it's purely street level. We get a bit of a change to that with the original Under Siege, but it's still kind of like guerrilla tactics. Like it's still sort of. It's different to this where we're dealing with outer space nuclear satellites and crazy special effects and stunt work. This is more of an all-out action movie, very much in the Die Hard on a blank model, rather than Steven Seagal's going to snap some necks. This is also the introduction of our character Bobby, played by Morris Chestnut. He becomes Seagal's, buddy helping out. I believe it's a Playboy playmate who helps him out in the first Under Siege. So she's like going to do like a USO show, and she ends up shooting some bad guys. Peter Green is also in this. Peter Green, you've seen him in Pulp Fiction. You've seen him in The Usual Suspects. He's in Training Day. He's also in the very first scene of Justified, which is a show that was sold on me on the premise of, oh man, you're going to love it, Rob. There's every that guy actor. And I couldn't believe my luck in the first scene when we got Peter Green. And he's nice and creepy in this. He's a fun premise. Like it's cool casting a lot of the time in this movie. So this is Under Siege 2 is also Seagal's first sequel. And it was sort of the beginning of the end for his cinematic career. I don't think the film did terribly.
You could say it derailed from here.
That's very good. Siskel and Ebert gave it 2 thumbs up. Like this, I actually think the film is, there's something going on here. It's definitely not Contract to Kill. It's definitely not On Deadly Ground. It's definitely not Belly of the Beast. But from here on, it was all downhill. He never reached those lofty heights of Under Siege. Which also should say, directed by Under Siege, directed by Andrew Davis, who went on to do The Fugitive, which was an Academy Award nominated thing. So it's clear like the 2 paths they went on. Andrew Davis, who directed Above the Law, which was Seagal's big break. So now the terrorists break into this compound, and that was something that always cracked me and my buddy Isaac up when we first watched this film. The extent of their break-in is they just push 3 numbers on a keypad, like sequentially, bang, bang, bang. And some nerds, particularly in the like CinemaSins era of film criticism, are going to be like, oh, it's a plot hole. They just did 3 buttons and it was so easy. I think that's a really strong, fun choice. So it's kind of funny, but it just keeps the plot moving along. I don't care how the terrorists do their big operation to break in. This is like one small step that doesn't matter. You come in, you shoot some bad guys in the head, and then you're just keeping that movie going.
Nobody said there was going to be violence in this film.
This film's about an hour and 40 minutes. It's not a 2020 134-minute blockbuster. It's lean, and it's really fun in that way. And so in a 1.5-minute sequence, we've got a show of their ruthlessness, and they're geared up. And it's as simple as that. And then we can get on the train. We can take over the train. We can boot up Grazer 1, and we can finally get in to business, which is what we're doing now. And this is definitely very, very much a Colorado location. Dark Territory, as we'll learn, is an actual rail term. It's area where there's no signals, trains can't communicate with each other, which makes the train a very good base for Travis Dane as a moving operation that can't be detected. Also, the Breaking Bad episode where they do the train heist does refer to Dark Territory, and you might see a Breaking Bad cast member as one of the terrorists. So look forward to that. Now we've got a bit more bonding between Casey Ryback and his niece. They haven't seen each other in a while. We caught earlier, like he gets her a teddy bear because last time he saw her, he remembered her really liking teddy bears, and she's just too old for that now. The brother is, again, we haven't seen it or learned of him before. He's not really a part of the first film, but that's the advantage of a sequel. You can get a little bit deeper into some of these characters.
So, Seagal's name is Travis Dane in this?
No, Seagal is Casey Ryback.
Ryback. Who's Travis Dane?
Travis Dane is the villain.
Right. Well, okay, so now that I know that, so Gary Oldman, Lawrence Fishburne, and Jeff Goldblum all turned down the role.
Yes, and I'm glad they did because they would have all been really boring. And we'll get into that when we finally see our man, Travis Dane. I can't wait. I think, I've got a lot to say about his performance and his vibe in this. Seagal is different to a lot of the action heroes of the 80s and 90s, not just because he's really hit rock bottom and let himself go in a way that the others haven't, which is, he's an old man, like that's fine. But you look at like Schwarzenegger, who's like still buff and still really sharp in his 70s, and with Stallone and all that. Difference is when those guys started out their career, Schwarzenegger and Stallone, very tough guys, very intimidating physiques, muscly. The extent of their action prowess was basically just give them a machine gun and shoot some guys. You get to Seagal, who actually does have a black belt in Aikido or whatever. He's actually... What are you doing?
I'm trying to do his
he could actually fight and he could actually do some cool stuff. Similar with Van Damme, he could, had that physicality and that athleticism. He can still do the splits really awesome. Just got a bit more dynamic. And this is... it's an action film in the sort of Die Hard tradition, so there's a lot of setup and payoff. This is more of it between Chestnut and Katherine Heigl. It looks like, just a bit of fun banter, but she's teaching him some self-defense moves, okay? And they are going to pay off later on in the third act with the helicopter. She's even got to flip him over. Great. Morris Chestnut, give me some IMDb for Morris Chestnut. I've seen him in Kick-Ass 2, which is, great sequel, Under Siege 2, Kick-Ass 2, absolute poo. Unintentional rhyme. Jordan, can you answer the phone? Sorry, the door. How am I going to explain this?
Hello? Paul here. Paul? No Paul here.
There's no Paul here. Shout out to Paul if he is streaming along. Oh, okay, so great. So Casey Ryback is writing a book, his memoirs and stuff, which again will come back into play later on in the film. He's writing it on an Apple Newton, which is the Eat Up Martha device from The Simpsons. And again, more setup. We've got the dumbwaiter and the close-up there. Bang, we're learning whilst we're being entertained. It's simple, it's effective. Jeff Murphy is our director of this film. Jeff Murphy is a New Zealander. Came up in an interesting period. What?
Oh, Kiwi.
Oh, that was Emma Smith might be watching. You're gonna break her heart. Great. So Seagal's baking a cake. This is one of the best lines in the whole film. The train's movement is cramping my style. Mwah. Because he's a chef, so we got to see him cooking. People want to see that stuff. So Jeff Murphy came up in New Zealand, similar to Australia, 70s and 80s. Quite a strong film industry, at least in making a lot of films, making a lot of things people actually wanted to see. So some genre stuff. You've got films like Roger Donaldson's Smash Palace. Jeff Murphy directed a film called The Quiet Earth, which is sort of an Omega Man situation. Bruno Lawrence wakes up and he's the only man in this particular town in New Zealand, and maybe the world, and he eventually finds some other people. It's got a very famous final shot. Quite an iconic film in the New Zealand film industry.
It's the name from Breaking Bad.
Yes. There he is. So there's Jonathan Banks on the right. It's a shame you can't really see him in the mirror, but if you're watching at home, you'll get along. Jeff Murphy also was second unit director for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. So, you got to keep it in the tribe, get some Kiwis. And this film is actually quite bloodthirsty. It's quite graphic, and I think the films that Jackson was making at the time, he's probably seen this. He was probably impressed enough. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to imagine that. So I'm interested to watch this again after a few years. And just a stronger understanding of craft and learn a bit more about Jeff Murphy as a storyteller. We've now got the terrorists taking over. We had that fun scene with Seagal baking the cake, which means he's in the kitchen. Which means that's how he's avoiding all this. That's how he's able to escape and not be caught and not be held hostage, which is key. Right, because these guys are going to find it. If there's any hidden, and Morris Chestnut's managed to escape. Hence, he is able to help out Seagal later in the film. I think we're about to get to the film where someone says, "Oh, someone checked the baggage," and the guy shoots all the bags, says, "Baggage checked." I think his name is Patrick Kilpatrick. That guy. I think that's Patrick Kilpatrick. Can you double check that?
Sure.
And he says, "Baggage checked." It wasn't Patrick. But
Patrick Kilpatrick, Mercenary 2.
Mercenary number 2. And this is where you don't mess with Seagal. He's going to punch you in the throat. He's going to kick you in the balls. I think there's definitely some hatchet action later on. The criticism I would have of the first Under Siege is that they don't really make good on him being a chef very much. In the first film, he's able to avoid the initial takeover of the hostages because he gets locked in the freezer. They can't put him in the brick, but they can lock him up in the freezer. And so this, he's down in the bellows, and that again, it's poetry. It rhymes, as George Lucas would say. And it also got a hurt for Seagal. This is his fellow brethren on the floor. Now we've got Travis Dane entering the picture. It's Eric Bogosian, who, if you saw Uncut Gems, you'll know as, I think, Arno, as the brother-in-law who causes all the trouble. He is way more interesting than Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum, movie star, household name, very recognizable actor. Eric Bogosian is much more of a one-man show, monologue, playwright kind of guy. He hasn't done a lot of movies. I'm surprised he did a Scrubs. He did an episode of Larry Sanders Show. He's not a Hollywood name. It's just a weird vibe. And it's such an interesting choice. I don't know how he got on their radar, but it's the same thing. You think about what the Safdie brothers did with Uncut Gems and who they cast in that movie. Obviously, Adam Sandler's a big name, but he is playing something completely different to anything else he's done, which they're just kind of going for interesting casting there. But everyone else in that film is like real New Yorkers, real jewelers, ex-cons that they became friends with. And so there's sort of a similar parallel with them sort of thinking, Eric Bogosian is our guy. He makes perfect sense in this. And he's alive. Our NSA technicians are realizing that their past is coming back to haunt them. The guy over Eric Bogosian's shoulder, whose name I'm forgetting as the actor, but he's the heavy, is Everett McGill. You've seen him in Twin Peaks, which very much makes sense in that sort of world. He's appeared in License to Kill, the James Bond film. He is in on it at the very start and helps Fran Sanchez break out. And he's quite fun in this as well. You know, he's maybe a bit more of a typical Steven Seagal villain. This is an actor who's, you know, happy to get some work. Makes sense. It's not as big a stretch as Bogosian, who's just so strange and having a bit of fun. He's cashing a paycheck, and I respect it.
Yeah, right. I faked my own death and hijacked a passenger train to hear about who you're fucking.
So I saw this film 10 years ago. It was the weekend of the grand final. Remember that grand final when nobody won? That's what I was doing. I was hanging out, Gula, Isaac Moore, and I watching watching Under Siege 2. I got very interested in Die Hard ripoffs. So that was the thing. You could just put terrorists in a particular location, and that would be the point of difference, and have a tough guy fight them. You've got things like Passenger 57 with Wesley Snipes. You've got films like Sudden Death with Van Damme, which is Die Hard at a hockey game. He plays a firefighter.
Skyscraper with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Skyscraper with The Rock Johnson, but also Skyscraper with... Oh, God. What was it? Playboy Playmates, Anna Nicole Smith did a film called Skyscraper. Same premise.
Did she take down the terrorists?
Absolutely.
Oh, man, I want to watch that.
It's very, very soft pornographic. I shouldn't have used that as an example to put him off it. So I'm 15 years old. I'm seeing this for the first time. Having done some research, I think the trailer is actually quite strong. It certainly sold me on some of the action, some of the bizarreness. But this film...
Yeah, she got a sonic screwdriver.
It's way worse than a sonic screwdriver. That's going to, as Travis Stain is explaining, that's just going to boil your eyeball. It's quite disturbing and quite graphic for me as a 15-year-old kid. I'd maybe seen District 9 as far as MA-rated films go. This is a 90s MA15 plus. This is much harsher. There's some real gory, fucked up shit in this, which probably isn't as big of a deal now. But Seagal traditionally, and again, I think different to Schwarzenegger, to Stallone, and any of those guys, they are much more sadistic in their violence. It's not just a few people getting shot and a bit of blood, maybe a hatchet cutting into something. This is playing it for laughs of a guy getting his hand shot off, really like milking that for comic value. And Seagal, hatchets in the face, fingers cut off, hard R-rated action. And because they're trashier films, Seagal doesn't have a Terminator 2. And I'm struggling to think of, see, Jordan watching this for the first time is screwing up his face. It is hard stuff to watch. Like, it's pretty brutal. And it'll keep on being like that. Nothing is like squirmy. Anything with the eyes, not great. So we got... Oh, there's our teddy bear. And Seagal. Hope you didn't forget about him. He is on the train. He knows something is up. He's already killed a few of them, but he's now a man on a mission.
Yeah, he's killed a few of them, and now he's starting to suspect something.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the shot, again, of the teddy bear, it's refreshing us and reminding us and, reiterating that relationship of his niece, because it's not just somebody he's got to save. He's got to save the relationship. He's got to repair years of not neglect. Nothing as sort of savage as that, but he hasn't been around. He's been in a different part of the country. He's been Under Siege, the first one. He's been doing all sorts of crazy SEAL shit. And we've got some nice green screen work here of the moving train. Of the background. It's all pretty strong, but then some real stunt work as well. It's probably not Seagal, but clearly that was him on top of the train. It's a nice mix. Later films, certainly films that have been much later, like Contract to Kill, he's doing fight scenes where he doesn't have to get out of his chair. Opening of Contract to Kill is a montage of his background as this hardcore motherfucker, and there's this one shot of him running through like Mexican border drug tunnels, and he's sort of, like guy marching down toward camera, and it's clear that he's just sort of stood still and the background is moving to make it look like he's moving toward camera. And that's a pretty extreme example of Seagal being unable to perform. But even in a film like Belly of the Beast, which is very much straight to DVD territory, the opening scene is his character doing some cat burglar stuff. It's clearly a very small gymnast as his body double. We're meant to believe is Steven Seagal. I'm sure there's a little bit of in this film beyond regular stunt double. I'm sure there's a bit of body double for, the way they dress him in a black double-breasted suit, very slimming. It's also very cool. But that's just brutal overkill. Throw him out the train, shoot him on the way down. But Peter Green, as we're going to learn, is a pretty sick fuck. And it's exactly who you want to cast. He's much more than just the guy in the Gimp scene from Pulp Fiction. He's done some strong work in things like Lodge Kerrigan's Clean Shaven, which is a very strange film, but there's some good stuff. Yeah, I like Peter Green. That's the point we're getting to.
It's a pretty forward-thinking film to use a CD instead of a floppy disk. For 1995.
It's cutting-edge stuff. Travis Dane is teched up. We know he's a brilliant scientist who invented this crazy satellite. But it's not just a way of looking at breasts from space. As we're going to learn, Grazer 1 can cause earthquakes. And as we're actually going to learn later on, it can cause earthquakes mid-air and take down stealth bombers. But you're right about the CD. That is pretty advanced. I love that so much of the plot rides on this compact disc. Like, it's all right. Everything in the plan is on the CD. That's a wonderful 90s touch. Nothing wrong with the film that has dated. Jordan and I were watching Terminator 2, which is, I mean, by all means a pretty timeless classic. But there's a few things that really date it as a 1991 film. Things like the way that Los Angeles is shot, things like the child acting and the child's performance in that, and his vocabulary, teaching Schwarzenegger to say,
hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista, baby, but no problemo, and stuff like that. It's like really 90s, and cheesy, but totally works and is endearing to the time period rather than a portrayal of, oh my goodness, I can't believe that we thought this was cool. So I love a compact disc. And now we're learning something is wrong because someone is booting up Grazer 1. Kurtwood Smith gets to actually do more than he actually gets, to kind of be in control here. He's not just a bit part. They didn't just get the guy from RoboCop for nothing. And again, that's another example of like bizarre. That's unusual casting in RoboCop. I believe they saw a photo of him wearing glasses. He reminded the director of Goebbels. And it's a fun performance from, again, someone who you wouldn't expect from having only seen that 70s show. Seagal is great stuff. He would be an interesting father figure. I think he'd be not a very good father in real life. But it is a different side of the man who's never been known for great performances.
Shall I take your picky now?
You may as well. Yeah, why not? Jordan's just going to take a photo because I've got one shot on my camera left, and you want to remember this. Where were you when I did a live audio commentary of Under Siege 2 Dark Territory? And so we're starting to set up our Grazer 1. Huh? You will absolutely need to get me in focus. Okay, so we're targeting chemical weapons plant with we're going to cause an earthquake underneath and cause some chaos, and then everyone in the world is going to know we mean business. From my understanding, which I only just found out last night, a lot of the shots we're going to see of the chemical weapons plant being devastated by this satellite earthquake is actually that's the film rewinding is leftover footage from Seagal's previous movie On Deadly Ground, which was actually Steven Seagal's directorial debut. So after the success of the original Under Siege, he was given a little bit of clout. He was led off to tell a story that was important to him. And by goodness, he ran with it. The last 10 minutes of that film is just a monologue about the environment and everything we're talking about now. Big corporations suppressing things like electric cars. paying the fee for illegally polluting because it's cheaper than just putting in new infrastructure that's going to make it a lot cleaner, a lot safer, and environmentally aware. Seagal just monologues about protecting the environment, stopping climate change. It's full of Eastern mysticism, which he's a big fan of. There's plenty of cool, tough guys. There's a lot of dialogue in that film about what a tough guy Steven Seagal is. And you can do that when you're the director and you have full oversight of the script. You can make yourself out to be just the absolute best. But the film didn't do well. Michael Caine, the most cockney man in the world, plays a Texan, which is pretty funny. Again, in Basil Polderis, worked on the music for that. And as a result, didn't do well. Now Seagal is doing a sequel because you got to keep that cheddar rolling in. We've got our weapons test. So it's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't quite remember the sequence of shots. Cesar Bogosian's just mugging to camera. He's having a ball. Somewhere in here is footage lifted from On Deadly Ground. That'll be it. Yeah, that is definitely the oil rig exploding at the end of On Deadly Ground. And nothing wrong with that. You know, Michael Bay reused shots from The Island in Transformers 3, I believe. He just figured, I've got it in the can. I think it was deleted scenes. So that's maybe a little bit more forgivable. You know, no one had seen it. And it's like, I've got a cool shot of a truck flipping over. Pop that in. So Michael Bay actually taking cues from Seagal. So, I mean, Masters got to respect Masters. Craft is craft. So I guess Seagal's probably taken down about 4 or 5 bad guys by this point.
He's in the toilet.
He is in the toilet. It's not an issue. It's an issue I have with Die Hard, not a problem I have with the film, but it's my problem in comprehending Die Hard. I can never quite keep track of how many terrorists there are. Or I think younger me would have been bold enough to say that there are more terrorists in the film than they say they are, and they made a mistake, but that can't be true. That film is so well thought out and crafted. John McTiernan, a genius. Films like Under Siege 2, completely just walking in its footsteps. Okay, so I mentioned Casey Ryback's Apple Newton earlier. That is going to come in handy very soon. $1 billion. Right. Yeah, good stuff. It's always about the money. Isn't that so true? All right, so the general on the left, and possibly the guy on the right, again, I haven't seen Under Siege in a long time, but the general on the left, which I'm sure Jordan can tell us the name of the actor, is from the original Under Siege, and so he's very familiar with his work. Interesting note coming up. So we have tested Grazer 1. That was just a demonstration to show they mean business, but also just to show Travis Dane's financial backers that the weapon works, right? This is a real thing. And then, again, get that cheddar coming in. We're about to see... All right, and again, this is sort of a threat. They're realizing this guy could wash California off the map. It could have just waited another 30 years. Climate change taking care of that one. Where I'm getting at, though.
So Captain Garza? Played by Dale Dye?
The other guy. So that's, yes. He was a real military man who appeared in a lot of films like this.
Under Siege.
Is he in the first Under Siege? Yeah. Okay, right. So we're talking about that guy.
Oh. Well, that may take longer.
Yeah. I would have thought they would be on the same... around about as far into it as each other on the IMDb. But yes, so what's his name? Travis Dane's about to get another call saying one of the bad guys, Admiral Bates, that's correct?
Played by Andy Romano.
Andy Romano, wonderful. What else has Andy Romano done?
Major League. Under Siege, Eraser.
Eraser with Schwarzenegger. A film I have seen. Yeah, it's totally fine. I don't mind Eraser. Can watch it once. He's in The Fugitive.
Yes, he's in The Fugitive as Judge Bennett.
The Fugitive has some great casting. Every one of those FBI, every one of those marshals. It's like Joe Pantoliano. It's Rose from Lost, and it's the chemistry teacher who gets blown up on Lost. It's a really fun casting, and so many like surprises in there. Fugitive is great. That's a film I only watched this past year, but solid 90s thriller that is made for adults that they just do not make anymore. Even a film like Under Siege 2 doesn't get made anymore. You would have to have some sort of... I mean, it does have end-of-the-world stakes in this film, but it would just have to be so much bigger. It would have to be, I don't know, the train would have to explode or go into a major metropolitan area and cause all sorts of havoc. So Seagal is hooking up his Newton to the phone line. He's writing to Admiral Bates.
It's fantastic use of technology, really.
Yeah, although someone did point out the fact that they're in dark territory means maybe the phone line wouldn't work, but who gives a rat's? As I think Siskel pointed out in the Siskel and Ebert review, they're about to blow up the Pentagon. That's kind of their plan, and that's going to just devastate the value of the US dollar. So all this money that they're getting, whatever. So yeah, this is what I was building up to. So one of the backers for Travis Dane's operation says, I'm going to give you an extra $100 million if you can blow up the commercial flight that my ex-wife is on, which is, I mean, come on, dude, be cool. But in Mission Impossible Fallout and Rogue Nation, but they talk about how Solomon Lane once blew up a plane. Henry Cavill said, is it true that he once blew up a plane just to kill one person? And Tom Cruise says, look, if it makes your skin crawl, it's probably true. Or something like that. So it's interesting that that Solomon Lane taken a cue from Under Siege 2, although I don't think he did it for... He probably did it for, destabilization, some sort of criminal, evil plot, rather than I can get paid for this. All right, great. So, another detail about the first Under Siege film, which was particularly popular with Jake Lawrence when we watched it at schoolies, is Seagal doing a lot of guerrilla tactics in that film makes a lot of IEDs. He can put anything together and blow it up. Seagal only does that once in this film, but it's better than anything in the first. It's a corker. So we're going to look forward to that very shortly when he goes to beat somebody.
Ow.
Yeah, really bloodthirsty there. This guy's going to get some horrible stuff done to him. And it looks like a good moment, a rousing moment. We have destroyed Grazer 1, but it's still counting down. It was the Hubble Space Telescope, much like Futurama. Unusual of me to make a Futurama reference. It's all right. It's okay. And bang, that's our commercial airliner down. The hell did we just shoot down? Exactly. Feels like Seagal hasn't actually done very much in this movie. It's been a lot of the other stuff. But he'll have his moment to shine. The old Apple logo. The multicolor rainbow one. Oh, it's beautiful. My brother's got a sticker like that. He puts it on his laptop.
Bloody 1995 iPad. That's what that is.
Yeah. Yes. There's some great wisdom in this film. Travis Dane quotes... I can't remember which writer, but he says, chance favors the prepared mind a lot.
Ooh, I did see that in the trivia.
You would have seen that. Let me know who that quote is attributed to. We also get some good stuff from Everett McGill. Assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. Which is so true. It's so true.
Chance favors the prepared mind is a quote originally said by Louis Pasteur. I don't know who that is.
I believe he invented pasteurization. I was reading the Seagalology book by Verne, and he talks about that.
Louis Pasteur was a French biologist, microbiologist, and chemist renowned for his discoveries of the principles of vaccination, microbial fermentation,
There we go.
and pasteurization.
It's got to feel good to get named something after yourself. I mean, that's nothing new. This is fun. Him pretending to be in Paris. I don't think he's trying to convince him, but it would be pretty funny if that, And so, yeah, we're finding out it was a dummy. It was something else. He outsmarted them, and he's going to continue to outsmart the NSA or the Navy. I don't know. I don't remember. It doesn't matter. It's guys in the military. I love the way that guy smokes his cigarettes. He's really selling the stressed out vibe. He gets some fun moments, that side character.
The Poindexter with the glasses tapping around the computer, and he looks familiar to me.
He gets one of my favorite lines in the film.
Yeah, that guy. I've never seen him before.
So, yeah, fact checker, please grab that for us. And so we've got a bunch of dummy satellites. He's one step ahead. Are we going to get the line? No, okay. I'm going to hoot and holler when we get assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. Am I swearing too much for something that was not for... I said it was okay for under 18s because I didn't want you to jump through all those hoops to get along all the one people that's watching this right now, but that's fun. That's good. That's fine. I don't know if the Pentagon really does have a nuclear reactor underneath it, but it doesn't matter. I think the reason people don't enjoy films is, this misconception they've got to be completely infallible, every contingency worked out. And I think if you're watching a movie with your head, you're going to have a bad time. You've got to watch it with your heart. People always say there's a criticism of, or not criticism, but sort of a backhanded compliment. Oh, you just want to switch your brain off and enjoy yourself. You should do that with every film. If a film is any good in its ability to communicate and tell a story with images, you should just be able to inherently sort of bang, bang, feel that. Even a movie like Tenet, which is extremely complicated and, depending on how you feel, frustratingly so. I don't necessarily agree with that, but there's definitely a point where I stopped following it exactly. But at the same time, audiences are smart. Audiences have seen 100 of these kinds of films before. I know that they've got to stop the guy doing the thing, and they've got to blow up the thing that is going to destroy, make the end of the world. The guy's got to do the thing, and that's fine with me. I don't need to know the particulars. There are other issues with that film, but I don't think that's one of them. And again, if you really care about it, watch it again. More Chekhov's gun. All right, Katherine Heigl's showing off the Navy Cross, which her dad has one, and Casey Ryback has got 2 of those. It's also a good reminder that Katherine Heigl is in this movie. We've got another Jonathan Banks cameo coming up. But we should also talk about the screenwriter of this film. The co-screenwriter of this film is none other than Matt Reeves, who is definitely an exciting talent at the moment. A few years after Under Siege 2, he would create Felicity with J.J. Abrams. He's gone on to direct things like Cloverfield and Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes. He's sort of taken over that. And he's now doing the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. Got his start screenwriting Under Siege 2. And I think it's just another mark of quality. I think, there were smart people putting behind this. The Jeff Murphy of it, the Matt Reeves of it. I mean, Hollywood screenplays, okay, it's going to pass. It's going to go through many, many writers down the line. But the bones of it are solid. This is, as much as it is a generic Die Hard on a blank, there is some stuff that is genuinely quite smart. Again, the people they got involved, your Eric Bogosian, your Basil Poledouris of it all. I don't think they knew they were hiring Jonathan Banks at the time, but clearly that has aged like fine wine, that decision. As small a role as it is, he's going to shoot this guy straight in the neck. Bang. Horrible.
Do you think he survived?
He did not survive that, Jordan. Could you also just look up, Jordan, what are some of the other great train-based action movies? A few weeks ago, I watched
Phlegm 291.
Taking a Pelham 123 fucking rules. The original, I can't remember who actually directed that, but yeah, the Walter Matthau one is just again a great 70s thriller for adults that doesn't get made anymore. A few weeks ago, I was watching Runaway Train with Jon Voight and Eric Roberts, which is trash, but ends on a very profound note. There's some very interesting stuff there. I don't think it is this great thriller-eyed masterpiece that it's sort of remembered as. It's
action movies on trains.
Yeah.
We got Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer, classic.
The Commuter with Liam Neeson. Haven't seen it.
No one has. Again, but that's sort of, I presume, another Die Hard on a something situation.
Source Code.
Source Code
Was set on a train.
Good film on a train. Yes. But go on.
What have we got?
You've got films like Burt Lancaster in The Train. You've got Palin Pressburger did
Unstoppable.
49th Parallel, Unstoppable. Yeah, Tony Scott did the remake of Pelham 123 with Denzel, and he did Unstoppable with Denzel. Put two train films in a row.
And what's his name from Fast and Furious?
I'm pretty sure it's no. I think it's Chris Pine.
Is it? Oh, the picture looked very much like the guy from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as Runaway Train, I feel positive toward it. I think it's. I mean, when I say it's trash, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just sort of a sleazy B-grade thing. Like there's a bit of fun, there's a bit of grit to it. But a lot of the film is just Jon Voight and Eric Roberts hiding in the back of the train. It's all sort of very cramped, sort of handheld. We can only fit so much space in this location. But it's worth a shot. I'm surprised Eric Roberts and Jon Voight both got Academy Award nominations for it, but that's also part of the fun. All right, so I'm going to be honest and say I'm not the biggest fan of the Bond movie Skyfall. There are many reasons for it. One of them is that it ripped off Under Siege 2. You've got a woman with a sniper about to shoot our hero on top of a train. Where have I seen that before? Now, it looks like Seagal just got killed.
Quick movie.
No. This is not executive decision. Executive decision, Seagal does actually die halfway through the film. But Seagal does not get beaten up. And we even saw blood there. But there is a really good reason as to why Seagal survived it. Foolproof, watertight as to what happened there and how he survived a fatal shot from a sniper rifle. Again, on top of a train, it's just like Skyfall. Sam Mendes, what a hack.
So far, he's taken out 6 men.
Great.
How many left? Who knows?
And so that shot looks like we should be able to see something, but we actually do see him there. Okay. I just from broken memory assumed that was a shot of nothing, but I should know better. This is a film. Whenever it's on Go, I will definitely watch some of it. Particularly one scene, which is the moment that cemented it as like an all-timer for me. And Isaac Moore, who I watched it with. I have screened it for friends, for girlfriends. Easily 10 or so times that I've watched this in the past decade, which is bizarre. But I think I watched Grown Ups 2 like 6 times last year, 4 or 5 times. So. And as people are finding in lockdown, around the world, the things people go back to, they've seen The Office, they're watching it again. There's something comforting, whatever it is, whatever you find peace and happiness in. And Everett McGill has just found our Apple Newton. And sure enough, Ryback's chef buddy is just getting that fax, which is going to tell him Contact the general from the first movie. No bullet in there. You think that's being shot in the arm? That's not being shot in the arm. Brilliant. That's all you need. Like I said, watertight. We've explained exactly how Seagal survived a fatal shot
Well, the bullet
with a
didn't stay
huge
in,
high-speed bullet.
It just went straight through. Didn't pierce any vital organs or bones.
I would believe that, but he should be in pain and should...
Steven Seagal doesn't feel pain.
Well, that's a really good point, because I'm pretty sure in the final fight of this film where he fights Everett McGill's character...
You get to punch in the bullet hole?
No, I think he gets a scratch in one shot, and then the next one it's gone. Like, they say, whoa, close down production. Seagal does not get injured. This is a great lineup here. They've just realized it's Casey Ryback because of the Newton. They've found his memoir, Ryback's Tactics. He's the best there is. It's great from Patrick Kilpatrick. I love that part. It's got a good hat, Patrick. And here we get Assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. Words to live by. And so now they really know what's going down. But interesting that I guess that was the point of the scene. Even though they shot him, they thought he was dead, but it's not good enough. Everett McGill has seen a few Steven Seagal movies. As a result of my love of Under Siege 2, I've obviously gone back and, again, a lot of them on Channel Go. Hard to Kill. Great fun. It's got the great line where he was put in a coma for 7 years by a corrupt senator or a corrupt politician who's now, after 7 years of being in a coma, risen to the rank of senator. Senator Trent. And Seagal is watching him on the news and says, Senator Trent's saying, like, it's my promise to do blah, 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 and you can take that to the bank. And Seagal says, I'll take you to the bank, Senator Trent. The blood bank. And then there's some cool soundtrack in that epic moment. Can you just look up Hard to Kill and tell me who played Senator Trent? He's been in a lot of these films. I'm pretty sure he's the villain in Die Hard 2. I'm pretty sure he's the president in the Marvel Cinematic Universe around about Iron Man 3.
What name am I looking for?
The third guy, Bill Sadler, as Senator Trent in Hard to Kill and many others. So that's kind of who they...
Oh, bloody Death from Bill and Ted.
From Bill and Ted. That's the kind of guy who usually gets cast as our villain. And again, I just can't reiterate enough how much I love Bogosian in this film. I'm usually pretty good when I see an actor and like remember where I've seen them. I saw his chef buddy in something recently, and I can't figure out what it was for the life of me. I've sort of looked through everything. I thought it could have been a Mad Men, but he died in about 2003, so that ain't it. And how far into the film are we? We're about an hour in, so yeah, okay. I could have more to talk about by this point, but we're going to keep on going. It hasn't really begun Seagal's killing spree. Okay, right. Okay, so I mentioned the Purple Heart, and I mentioned the bomb making. Okay, so he's grabbing some coconut oil. He's grabbing some lighter fluid. He's going to smash up some glasses, get some shards going. This is the only bomb that he makes after a very solid run of making them in the first, and it is a corker. Very creative. Good idea, probably from Matt Reeves. So a Purple Heart is going to betray the fact that that Katherine Heigl is a connection with Ryback. It's always thinking a few steps ahead. Again, it's what you expect in this kind of film, but it's very effective, and it works. I like Under Siege 2, Dark Territory.
Hi, honey. It's me.
Okay, so government is panicking. I feel like this is a bit like the Schwarzenegger commentary for Total Recall, which is quite famous for Schwarzenegger just sort of narrating, okay, so this is the scene where I walk into customs, but that it's actually me as the woman, like someone who's never seen it before. But it's, you know, I'm trying to convey passion here. That's what it's all about. There are many other films, better films, that I would love to be able to talk on, but Under Siege 2 is about the extent of my means. Okay, it's, you know, it is what it is. Everett McGill seeing through it. Oh yeah, he gets a great moment up here when Katherine Heigl, she's about to pepper spray him, and he just takes it. This is a hardcore motherfucker. Doesn't even clear the sinuses. Yeah. Consumer grade. Great. Jesus. Yeah, like real heartless guys. And I guess, you know, you want to hate your villains. But it just gets a little bit sadistic with Steven Seagal. As you will know, I'm a big MacGyver fan. I don't know how this compares as far as like, oh, could you retrace his steps and build this bomb yourself? But we've got to go beep somebody. Beep being the operative word. So we used a pager as the sort of detonator. It's really going above and beyond here because he throws it to him. The pager says, "You're fucked," and blows him up. That's great. So the plan here is, mentioned the dumbwaiter earlier. Whilst this commotion's going on, Morris Chestnut jumps out because we've seen how it works. We know it's part of it. And he's going to grab our compact disc that is central to the bad guys' plans. One disc, if only they'd backed it up. It's a good lesson. It's still very pressing today. I saw Holly tweet the other day on, wish I'd saved your work, guys. I just lost everything. It's the same problem that Travis Dane's running into now. Again, setting people on fire with flares. It was very creative. And as much as it sort of shocked Isaac and I as 15, 16-year-old boys, I mean, we still want to see this sort of thing. So now we have to stop the train, which leads to my favorite moment. This train made a lot of tons of scrap metal without that CD. That was my best Eric Bogosian. Let's see how it compares. I don't know. That made up the weight. Basil Volduris. This is the track called Intruder Discovered, maybe. That's one of the tracks on there. And the truck, that's going to come into it later as well. That pickup truck. All right, so Seagal's gone over the side of the cliff. They're off the train. They've got to stop the train because they think he's got the disc. So we get to really get into the full-scale special effects of it, but that is coming once we get to Nightfall, once we get some stealth bombers. It's, pardon the pun, but it is new territory for Seagal. When are we going to get the Travis Dane line about the CD? I hope I haven't missed it. So that's some animated there.
Whoa!
That's
How did Seagal get on the side of the cliff? I wasn't paying attention.
The door was open and they were fighting and they rolled out. And it just happened to be a cliff. Pretty good. So that's a more obvious blue screening. I mean, nothing wrong with special effects. I think
it's come a long way since 95.
Well, but also it's kind of part of the illusion. You know there's going to be fake stuff in movies. It was a good point. Scorsese made about The Irishman. Okay, so that de-aging software is by no means realistic. But if you think about, Scorsese spoke about it as makeup. You know, it's just a different way of doing makeup in a film, and doesn't matter. Like, that's fine. That's a conceit I can buy into. In the same way I can buy into the aging makeup in Citizen Kane, which is pretty obviously makeup. The aging in Once Upon a Time in America. Okay, it's a better story than it is special effects, and you just roll with it. Again, it's a film from 95. What really shocked me, Adelaide University Film Society did a screening of Rear Window, which is, the 50s. Far less advanced. It's all rear projection. And in the climax... All right, this is my favorite line. I'm just going to stop here. This is the best part of the film.
Hello, CD.
That line delivery, it just kills me every fucking time. And then this is brutal, guys. Whole head smashed. Horrible. But in the climax of Rear Window, where the whole film, obviously, Jimmy Stewart's been wheelchair bound and he's been dangled out a window and they're using rear projection stuff. And I was actually really disappointed to hear people who like film laugh at the effects. And it's like, this is the climax of the movie. You gotta, it's, if it's cheesy, you just gotta just buy into it. Take it seriously because it's being treated with all seriousness. And you've enjoyed the film up to this point. You've been invested in it. It's not worth a cheap laugh. So special effects, they work hard. They're doing the best they can. For to check. Patrick Kilpatrick. I love his line delivery. And they finally found that CD. Now you're wondering, how is Steven Seagal going to get back onto that train? He's off the side of a cliff. Like I said, pickup truck. And I believe Morris Chestnut just runs back on board. So our three heavies, in Peter Green, Patrick Kilpatrick, and the villain Travis Dane, they are crucially all still alive. I think Patrick Kilpatrick is not long for this world. And that's a fucking good shot from Everett McGill. Moving target. Again, yeah, oddly physical role for, well, not the role, but physical action stunts, physical moments for Steven Seagal. That's probably not Seagal in that shot. That's probably a body double. It was too silhouetted. And the hairpiece probably, it looks like it's been, maybe not spray on, but maybe some shoe polish in there. That hairline, not very convincing. I think even in Above the Law, he was like in his mid to late 30s by that point. He was receding, much in the way that Big Bob Loza is sort of receding a little bit. Hopefully not the full extent, but it's gonna happen. Ah dear, I'm gonna be like Kurtwood Smith one day.
Yeah, he's getting roles.
Exactly. That's so true. But he's got the old man thing going for him.
You'll be an old man one day.
So I can't remember what the countdown for 20 minutes is for, but we're about to get to nighttime.
Must be blowing up the Pentagon.
Well, I don't think. I think that's too much. Even though it's a film, I think that's too much to do in 19 minutes. I do like the fact with Mission Impossible Fallout, the reason why the nuclear bomb has 15 minutes till it blows up. It's more like 20-25 in like movie time, and it cuts across timelines, so you can sort of forgive it. The only reason it's set to 15 is because Chris McQuarrie didn't want people to go, oh God, there's still 20 minutes of this movie left. 15's like, oh great, we're almost at the end. It's a nice little playing the audience against itself, little psychological reverse. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but it's a good trick. So yeah, we've still got a bunch of shit that needs to happen. We need to free those hostages. We need to kill a bunch of bad guys. We need to avoid a collision with an oncoming train, and we got to get off that train as well before it all blows up in spectacular fashion. There is quite a lot left to do in this film, and I don't believe they're trying to convince us that it's in 19 minutes. Jordan's showing me a Simpsons meme. What's?
Oh, it's just like the Simpsons faces, worst Simpsons faces.
Sure. I mean, I'm in the middle of an Under Siege 2 Dark Territory commentary, but nah, it didn't really work. Okay. I don't know what it is about. As far as like action movies, things that get me excited, things I like to see. I do tend to prefer physical stuff. People from falling from stuff is nice. And I think this stunt where Seagal drives off like a cliff and jumps out of the car and lands on the train really sold me in the trailer. Unironically, that's exactly the kind of thing I want to see. I remember when I first watched Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which, I mean, has the very famous Burj Khalifa climbing scene. And again, that's heights that does still speak to me. And you look at some of those IMAX shots and you feel sick looking at the fall there. But what really made that whole movie stand out for me is the parking garage fight. You know, I want to see Tom Cruise drive a car off a thing and ride it as it crashes down to the ground. People hitting themselves with big, heavy stuff. It works for me. That's kind of what jumps out to me. That's why I like the action in the third John Wick movie probably better than the others, because it just seems to be a lot more physical, grunting, groaning. Keanu's a little bit older. He's sort of exerting himself a bit more. It's cool stuff. Assumption's mother of all fuck ups. He fucking flipped it on him. You wonder if it's sort of a Yojimbo fistful of dollars thing where he's trying to turn the or even License to Kill, we've mentioned already in this commentary. Maybe it's trying to play them against each other. Things aren't going well, and it is trouble in paradise. Okay, so this is like a fun stunt. Again, very far from what Seagal had been doing up to this point on the street. Those films really are just shooting people in the dick and karate chopping them in the throat, snapping necks. Seagal would, I mentioned as well, on Executive Decision. That's another film with a stealth bomber, which is Die Hard on a plane. It's actually Kurt Russell's film. Again, rare for Seagal to play a supporting role. Again, pretty much the only time he does, as well as the only time he dies. But he gives a heroic sacrifice in the middle of that film. It's always on television. Peter Green getting to be a freaky bastard. I should also point out multiple times Hamish and Andy on their very successful, very well resourced and nationally syndicated radio shows have completely incorrect, and I think carelessly referred to Under Siege. Referring to Under Siege 3 took place on a plane, or making jokes about that, or not understanding even the premise of Under Siege 2. And I would be lying if I said I hadn't written letters of complaint about you gotta get this stuff right. People are listening to you. Flip. He did the flip. Again, we saw that set up. And now Morris Chestnut he's ready to kill. He's just handed him over to Seagal. And again, Peter Green's got the chops to really sell the horrific torture, the pain bodily trauma of getting your neck snapped, because he's kind of a very wormy, scummy actor, and I say that with all the love in my heart. Much like the late Bill Paxton, no one better at playing absolute shitbags than Bill Paxton, and for a long time I didn't like him.
Bill Paxton's the name I was trying to think of yesterday or the day before.
There you go. Bill Paxton rules.
Completely got his name wrong.
In a film like True Lies, which I think about True Lies as like the greatest movie that just absolutely sucks ass. It's another film where I think the action is incredible. Like, it's like platonic ideal, all of the fighting on top of a Harrier jump jet, like, mwah, that's great stuff. But the sexism is appalling. Even by 90s standards, the Islamophobia is...
And that was before 9/11.
Super poor. Exactly. And so it's like I think what's that? Tom Arnold has the line, "Women can't live with him, can't kill him." It's really awful in a lot of that sense. And what was the point I was going to make about True Lies? Bill Paxton is really, really, really funny in it. Again, it's just a complete shitbag. The scene where, Google it, Schwarzenegger punches his head off, is great. It's great.
Is that the one with Jamie Lee Curtis?
It is with Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. So I love a shitbag. I respect it.
Mad Men.
Oh God, yeah. Oh man, Pete Campbell's such a little worm. I love Pete Campbell. Jordan would like cringe and cover his eyes when Pete Campbell did something really rotten, or Harry Crane did something really rotten. So what we're seeing here, and again, I know I'm just describing the plot, but you're not watching it. You're watching, you're doing 100 things right now. The scientists are trying to pinpoint and rule out the dummy satellites that Travis Dane gave them, and trying to just lock down on Razor One leads to another one of my favorite lines in the film. This is where the film gets completely ridiculous as far as sending stealth bombers after the train as another way of destroying the signal. And so not only are they flying stealth bombers at very, very low range, Travis Dane's going to try and cause a mid-air earthquake and blow up some stealth bombers. Of course. I should also add we're watching this on a DVD.
Old school.
Oh, you better believe I own it on DVD. Why was I going to mention that? Well, for one thing...
Goes faster.
Oh, that's right. Yes, because I was worried we were going to have some glitches, because this has been well worn. And yeah, test of sort of seeing, is the mirror going to be positioned correctly, and a lot of that sort of thing. We were concerned. It did actually crash at one point, but we're fine. The reason I wanted to watch it on DVD is because a 25 frame per second version of the film is going to be 4% shorter, and it's a little bit less. I have to talk at the risk of being out of sync with anyone streaming this. But as we know, who gives a shit? No one's watching. I'm full aware of that. Was that a movie funny or a me funny?
Not a movie funny. Tits to die for.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other live stream about. They should be way more surprised that Travis Dane was able to blow up a stealth bomber in midair with an earthquake.
Gotcha.
Got him.
Nickname.
So Seagal, also established in the first movie, as well as being an explosive expert, he is very good with knives. He does fight Tommy Lee Jones. That's a knife fight at the end of that movie. That's how you end it in good style. Now, interesting that Morris Chestnut's gun has jammed. That's one of the most ridiculous moments of Hard to Kill, which is a ridiculous movie to begin with Seagal fresh out of a coma in the bed, sort of paddling himself away from the men who've come to kill him as he wakes up. He bumps into a nurse who just happens to be house sitting at a Chinese mansion that has all of the herbs and all the ancient traditional medicine teas and things that Seagal needs to nurse himself back to health. But the terrorists come to sort of, or the mob or whoever Senator Trent sends, they come to the house to sort of shoot everything up and get Seagal. And then, just as Seagal is cornered, one of the guy's guns jams, which gives Seagal the time to bang, 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 blow him up. It's just a funny moment, very convenient. So apparently we do only have 13 minutes. This is a very packed 20 minutes. They like to cut it close in these action films, I tell you what. So it's pretty much mano a mano. The hostages are safe. They've done the old release the back carriages. And here we go. Patrick Kilpatrick has done well to survive this far. I was not on the money there. It's interesting, though, because...
No.
Jesus.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But it's interesting, being a film I am essentially completely aware of and recall, as far as there is no scenes I'm like, oh, I forgot about this moment, in the way that sometimes can happen with the films you're very familiar with. You're not paying attention to every shot. Very few surprises about the content of this film, but I am surprised just about the sequence of events. I tended to think, particularly the over the cliff stuff and just a lot of the actual fighting of terrorists, I thought would be earlier in the film, or at least more evenly distributed. But it really is in the third act only that everything starts to happen. You look at a film like Die Hard, where, end of the first act, he's killing the ballet dancer, the ho guy. He's a ballet dancer. He's in License to Kill as Necros, with a great fight on top of the back of the plane. The guy with the exploding milk bottles, that's the same ballet dancer. Now I have a machine gun, ho guy. But then by the middle of that film, that's when, the SWAT team are doing the raid, and John McClane's blowing the people up with the C4 and the computer down the elevator. That film has the advantage of having a twist in the third act of, oh, they're just after the money. This, I guess, has to be structured in, I guess more like a horror movie, where you've got a lot of setup, and we've seen a lot of that Chekhov's gun setup and payoff sort of stuff in the beginning of the film. And then we are moving into a few more tangos knocked off, but now it's really the showdown.
Oh!
And again, so we're about to come up again with the payoff for Morris Chestnut's self-defense, because she's toast. He can fling her out the building of a helicopter.
Ow.
Fantastic. Yeah, brutal. He's not quite doing a Chris Tucker, but he's having a little bit of fun. He knows he's an annoying character. Is what it is. Seagal, again, so I guess maybe it is a bit more prevalent than I thought, his knowledge of explosives, because he figures this out pretty quickly. You got to wake up pretty early to destroy Steven Seagal, as we know.
Teddy bear.
He is hard to kill. And he gets his revenge. Again, that teddy bear is paying dividends.
Oh.
The action is actually shot quite cleanly. It's definitely later on that they became sort of cutting frenzies, but you're seeing a lot of the actual performers. It's playing out in probably about as wide as the confines of a train cabin is going to allow. And Seagal's, by this point, is still doing quite a lot. Or at least you're less aware of the illusion. you've got to respect that. So now we've got our train that's well set up. They're going to collide with an oil tanker. Travis Dane, we know he can fake his death. That's the very first thing we learn about him. And so finally we get our heavies. Everett McGill versus Seagal. It's fight night. It's not exactly what you came to see, but at the same time, you're going into a Steven Seagal film. You know it's going to be some good stuff going down. But I feel like there's a really good similar setup in Hard to Kill. He says something funny as he shoots a guy in the balls. It's easy, it's basic, but it's effective. And that when Seagal is good, that's probably how you would describe him. All right, yeah. So again, this is leading up to my favorite moment. This scientist that Jordan recognizes, he's been asked to just Hail Mary, pick a satellite at random. He's picked Kappa.
Turns out I don't recognize him.
You don't?
He's a voice actor.
Oh.
There's really no way I'd recognize his face.
Again, interesting casting in this. You wouldn't think. Voice actor. He's ready for it.
Like Rugrats and whatnot. So.
Oh, okay. This is from memory, some rather clunky cutting. They try to do it sort of looks like they're trying to do the shot where a character walks up to the camera and we'll just see it for ourselves. It's meant to be sort of a transition. The character covers up the camera.
Shot of his ball.
And then it just cuts to something different. It's not really a transition there. It just feels a little clunky to me. And I think also I mentioned I had sort of researched Under Siege 2, or at least researched Die Hard on a blank sort of movies. This is probably the first thing I Googled or found on YouTube, this final showdown. And being a 90s action movie, it's got to end with a fun pun. It is not Seagal's strongest suit. I wouldn't really say. He's not even as charismatic or fun to watch as an Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not as strong of an actor as Sly Stallone.
They're not automatic doors, are they?
I wouldn't be, no.
It means there's someone else standing in that with Katherine Heigl who's opening and closing the door.
Oh, well, there'll probably be a button you push, and it'll be something in between. I don't travel on trains nearly as much as I like. There's some nice scoring here from Basil Polidouris. He's I don't know music. I'm not articulate enough to talk about it.
So you said he had a fight with buddy Tommy Lee Jones.
Yep.
Knife fight, and so he's doing the knife fight again.
It's a knife fight, but as we see, we're about to we're going to use a lot more of the setting. We're going to go down to the kitchen. We're going to fall down some stairs.
Well, I mean, if there's one thing a chef knows, it's knives. So.
Yeah, and again, I think I not to knock Andrew Davis, who's had a more significant career than Jeff Murphy. I think this fight is a lot stronger than the final fight in the original Under Siege. Again, the use of location, the use of various objects around the room. We're going to be hitting people with pots, and we're going to be defending ourselves with interesting items. And this is where he knows it's business. You cannot beat Steven Seagal. He's going to do some sweet karate chopping. Bang, bang, bang. He's just going to town on him.
Oh, man.
And I think I missed it, but yes, Seagal did get a little scratch on his face. That is completely gone. It might be shot to shot, and just depending on the sequence they filmed it in. And we're getting up to the great action movie line. Just look at the comparison. Bloody Everett McGill, Seagal, a scratch in every second shot. Nice fast forwarding there. And then final blow, final line. Nobody beats me in the kitchen. Because he is a chef, and this film, not only does it remember that, it pays it off in a way that the first one doesn't. And having seen the sequel before the first one, I assumed it was like a yippee-ki-yay motherfucker kind of thing he says in every film. Really disappointed that the first one doesn't have any sort of pun like that. And so we're really just wrapping up the film now. Don't forget that Morris Chestnut has commandeered a helicopter above. Seagal saving the day. And I've always thought this was a bit strange, but again, we have established that Travis Dane is good at faking his own death. So maybe it's not... It wasn't Kappa. It's my favorite line. One of them. It's just very sincere, his delivery of this random number that I guessed based on nothing. It didn't turn out to be the satellite. It wasn't Kappa. Mwah. So this is again kind of a Raiders of the Lost Ark. Shoot the swordsman thing. Shoot the device. I never thought of that. As brilliant. It's simple. It's, bit of a laugh, bit of fun. And we managed to self-destruct Grazer 1 just in time. Now we just got to get off this train. I think that wasn't Jonathan Banks, was it?
Yeah, it was.
I thought he was dead.
No, well, he is now.
I never quite understand. All right, so this is where the film does sort of get a bit confusing. So we saw that shot of Travis Dane in the gravel. Maybe he's not dead, but he's definitely hurt. And on the train tracks, some nice green screening there. Again, good model work. This is pre-CGI. So it'll be miniatures. Nice fireballs going on there. They're having some fun. Again, giving the audience bang for their buck. And again, I always like this sort of sequence of shots with him sort of running and speedy and nice steady cam work, bang bang, and then jumping out. It's a fun hero shit. And so then somehow Bogosian got up high enough to reach the ladder. Doesn't really make sense. But I again, you get it, because you do want to see one last confrontation, a bit more stakes, and then horrible slicing the fingers off. This is still quite unpleasant to watch.
And they're gonna have a bunch of little fingertips just rolling around.
Absolutely. So now, this film has one more trick up its sleeve. I love how brisk it is. Seagal and Nice reunited. Bit of comic relief, and then the film is over. The ending is so abrupt. In a way that's cheesy, but again, it gets out. So all the generals.
Wait a minute.
Big cheer. Just hang on, Jordan. We can talk about this in the credits. The film is essentially over now. Cheering. One shot of Arlington Cemetery. Chucking down our flowers. Moment of silence. And then we just roll credits with a heartfelt song. No more dialogue. The film is over.
No.
Roll credits into a gospel song called After the Train Has Gone.
Okay, so they said the hostages were saved. How did they get them off the train?
They just unhitched the carriages.
Right. I wasn't paying attention.
No, that's all right. That's what you got to do. They do the same thing in Runaway Train. And presumably others. So that is Under Siege 2 Dark Territory. I didn't get to watch it, obviously, as much as I would like, but it's a fun film. It's over pretty quickly. It's got a few moments that, admittedly, I probably find funnier than other people, but hello still absolutely sings for me. And
it is very hard to take Seagal seriously as an action star.
As so many things, you can't take him seriously, but appreciating it on a level of this is a type of film on a particular budget, particular scope that wouldn't get made in today's mega blockbuster $200 million plus climate. It's simple thrills, even just an action movie that runs, an hour and 40 minutes that don't get done. And Jordan is someone who, I know you complain about the length of films quite a lot. Okay, maybe we're not getting particularly deep, which we don't have to. Maybe we're not getting a lot of emotional payoff, which would be nice, but it is slick, efficient, harmless, fun. That, again, a lot of the personnel involved shows something interesting going on. It's above and beyond. When a film sort of runs this long, there's always going to be something you get out of it. There's always going to be some payoff, whether it's just a moment, a particular shot, some interesting lighting. Rambo 3, piece of shit. I think that movie's garbage, but in the middle of the film, there's sort of a nighttime sneak-in sequence with some very interesting expressionistic lighting. That is the take-back I get from that film, and that's fine. I never need to watch it again. I know the exact bit of the film I'm going to want to rewatch if I ever do, but that's good. So that's Under Siege 2. Hope you got something out of it. Thank you to the millions of people who've tuned in. Maybe we'll do it if there's ever another film that I feel this passionately about. That's my fridge.
You can hear the background hum.
It's in the background now that there's no movie. Anything else you wanted to add, Jordan? Thank you for being fact checker tonight. Anything else?
Nah. I'm surprised it's out awake. I'm pretty sleepy.
Yeah, let's crack the window, crack the AC, and
crack open the beers.
Check you later.